I'm Dr. Carrie Horn, and you are listening to an excerpt from my book, A Soul Aligned: How God Heals His Creations. In this video, we're going to be doing an exercise, and this is an extension from the video entitled, A Church is Not the Church. So go ahead and grab a journal and a pen. If you've not listened to the recording entitled, A Church is Not the Church, I would recommend going ahead and listening to that, because that's what this journal assignment is all about. Now, I'm going to ask the questions, and I'm just going to pause briefly. So what I would recommend is that you go ahead and pause the video to write your answers, or to write your answers. But I'm just going to do a brief pause between questions. What does God mean when he talks about the church? What is the difference between a church and the church? Who started the institution of churches? What does it mean that Babylon the Great is the mother of prostitutes and of the abominations of the earth? Revelation 17:5. How did the early church assemble? So here's a hint. What were the apostles' instructions to the church on how to conduct themselves? Though we were told that the apostasy would take place and not to be deceived, what do you make of the abundance of churches these days but the crisis of faith? What is the difference between worshiping in a church versus worshiping in the church as God has desired? What does it mean to worship God in spirit and in truth? Why does God want us to come out of this system? For example, what stumbling blocks have been established within this system? The Lord says that they try to make people forget his name, Jeremiah 23:27. From the least to the greatest, they are greedy for gain, Jeremiah 6:13. They dress the wound of his people as though it were not serious, Jeremiah 6:14. And for those who do not have spiritual maturity, his laws become a list of do's, don'ts, and rituals, so they fail to understand, Isaiah 28:10-12. Do you see this issue within churches? Did God not also address this issue with the Pharisees? Did Christians in the early church have a building structure in which to worship? Did the lack of a meeting place alter the faith of the believer? How do we support and care for the church without a church? There's coming a time when religious freedom will be removed from God's people. Can anyone remove your religious freedom if you are worshiping in the spirit and in truth as God desires? How does the structure of a church lend itself to idolatry of man and superficial faith? How is the church supposed to conduct itself today? Have God's instructions changed from the New Testament? Why would people who choose to stay in this harlot system of counterfeit churches share in her sins and plagues? What are their own sins that would cause them to refuse to come out of her? Okay, that's the end of the journal section. If you've enjoyed this exercise, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon for more videos like this. I have provided my contact information, my email, in case anyone wants to participate in a workshop or has any questions that you'd like to ask me, and that is in the description box. I've also included 2 links there, one for A Soul Aligned, and the other is for Heart Known series, which is a practical application workbook for biblical healing. Thank you so much for listening. And the next video in this series is entitled, A Trumpet Has Sounded. God bless you.